Actually, this board was brought in for no power issue, and upon checking this board for physical damage, there is nothing wrong with this board, and it has never been given to any engineer, as I am seeing here, because the board has not been tampered. So first of all, what I will do is I will have to insert my DC power supply and see what is the status on the DC power supply. But before doing that, I will reduce this DC to 1 amp, and again I will check if my 19-volt rail is fine before injecting anything. And in doing that, I will go to my CLR rail and check. Here I have 488, which means my CLR is fine. So at this point I can insert my adapter. Now, after inserting my adapter, all I'm getting here is 0.18. And based on experience, if I'm getting this value, in most cases, it means there is issue with my standby section, mostly short of lower voltage here. But here, this is the standby coil, 3.0 and 5.0 coil, and this is the regulator here behind the board. Here, this regulator is heating up. So, to prove that, I'll add some flux on this. You can see it's drying up quickly. So what I'll do next is, normally people will just go ahead and change the IC without even checking anything. But in cases like this, mostly the problem is from the board, or the problem is within the IC. So what I'll do now is I will check what are the requirements of the IC before doing anything. Here, this is the schematic here, and this is the IC. This is TPS 51123 IC. And what are the requirements here? Firstly, at pin number 17 here, I should have my input voltage that happens to be the CLR voltage. And what will happen next? Immediately I'm getting this voltage, this IC will release these two voltage, which is linear voltages, this VREG 3 and VREG 5. At pin number 17, I should get 5 volts. Pin number 18, I should get 8 volts. And here, this pin number 13 is very, very important, because this is the acknowledgement of this pin number 8 and pin number 17. I will get above 2 volts there. That is confirming that this 3 section is working fine. That is being VREG 5 and VREG 3, they are working fine. After that, I will go for the trip signals, pin number 1 and pin number 6. Here, the value I'll be getting here is determined by the value of the resistor connected. Here I have 75k, which means I'll get 0.75 if I'm to use the multimeter, if this line is working fine. So if I'm getting 0 value here, it means this part there is problem within this part. So first thing first, I'll go under the microscope and confirm all those signals I've mentioned. Again, let me put in charger. Here, still the same thing. So I'll come under the microscope and check all these signals I've told you about earlier on. Here, this is the IC here. I've placed my meter at the voltage range, and I'll put my black probe at the ground, and I'll use my red probe at the testing point. First thing first, I'll go for the VM pin that happens to be pin number 16. So IC is counted anti-clockwise, so I will start from here. This is pin number 1, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So therefore 6 plus 6, this is 12. 13, 14, 15, 16. This is the component connected to the pin number 16. Here I'm having 18.5 volts, which is still fair for input, and followed by the IC to release VREG 5 at pin number 17. Here I have 4.9 volts, approximately 5 volts. That is fine. And the next one is to check pin number 8, VREG 3. Here, this is the VREG 3. At this VREG 3, I'm having 1.9 volts. This is not a good signal. I should have 3 volts, at least 2.9 volts at this pin. So what I'll do next is, if there is issue with my VREG 3, in most cases the issue is always coming from the one from this IC itself, and secondly, this V3 is connected to a capacitor here. You should follow this line carefully. Here there is a capacitor here. At times this capacitor is always faulty, and the other parts where this LDO is always faulty is the IO pin, because the destination of the V3 is the IO. So this is the IO, this is the standby. So it's either I'm having problem on this part or on this part. If I'm having problem on this part, it means I'm having problem at the input part, and if I'm having problem here, it means I'm having problem at the output part. So what I'm going to do is, since I have pad here, I will separate this pad in order to separate the input and the output, that is the destination and the source. So I will separate this. In doing that, I'll have to break this pad, and here the location of the pad is PAD6103. Here at this part of the board I have PAD6110. Another pad I have here is PAD603. This is the location of the pad here. So what I'll do now is I'll separate this pad with my flux rod. I use my solder wicks to separate this. Here, if I'm able to separate this pad, then I'll be able to determine if the problem is coming from the front or from the back. Okay, and we add this amount of flux. Okay, almost done. Still have little solder there. Now it has been successfully separated. So after separating this, since I'm still having some amount of voltage there, but to check the impedance, I won't get 00 because there is still some amount of voltage there. So the best way to do this is to insert charger and see if it will generate voltage at any part of the pad, or if both parts still remain 1.9. Here the consumption is now different here, and what I will do is I will check if the voltage is generating completely or not. Okay, at one part I'm having 0.9, at other part I'm having 3.3. So if I'm having 3.3, it means it's coming from the source. It's not possible for me to get 3.3 from the destination. So therefore the source part is okay, but at the destination part I'm having 0.9. Again, let me recheck. This is the destination part. I'm having 0.9. That is here. Okay. That is here. At this part here, I'm having 3 volts. From here to the front, I'm getting 0.9 volts. So what I'll do is I'll inject some voltage here and see if I will get any heating components around. So in doing that, I can use my multimeter as well. In most cases, this kind of issue, it will end up being the IO since it is not the IC in most cases. So here I have 2.3, I'll inject 3.3 volts or 3 volts. 3.1 is fine. I'll reduce the DC, so the current. Now what I'll do next is I'll supply with my negative. I'll use this as my negative. Okay, so 19 volt. Okay, this is my ground and this is going to be my positive. So I will inject this on the what is it called, on the other part of the solder pad that is giving us 0.9 volts. So at that part here, this place is consuming 0.6. This is abnormal. This should not be consuming to this level since it has not been working. So mostly the fault is always coming from this IC, this IO. But the IO is not eating in this case. Okay. No. Okay, there are two capacitors here that are heating up, not the IO. These two capacitors here, these two, they are heating up. Because they don't have location number, best thing I'll do is to remove them, or I think one is connected to pin number, what is this? This is 32, 32, 64, 65, 64, 60. One is connected to pin number 63 of the IO. And what is the location of the IO? U300. 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 Okay. Okay, pin number 64. 64, 64, 64. Okay, let me first check the supply pin. Okay, no 64 here. Pin number 64. Okay, phone one. Okay, LID switch. This is a very, very important signal for power. One is connected to pin number 64. LID switch. This is a very, very important signal. I don't see the track of the second one, but what I'll do is I'll remove the two capacitors. For doing that, I'll pause the video and remove them because of the other version of the video. So that is what I will do. Now, after removing those two capacitors, these are the capacitors here, and oh, what is so new? Okay, this is one of them. This is one of the capacitors here, and on the board, this is the space for those capacitors. So no more capacitor there for now. So for testing purpose, what I will do now is I will check if the part is still consuming that amount of current. This is my negative and this is going to be my positive. So at the other part here, no more consumption there. No more consumption. Here, this capacitor here, I made a little mistake of saying pin 64. The capacitor is not actually connected to pin 64. This is the 64th pin of the IC, and look at this track here. This is the pin 68 of the IC. So instead of LID switch, the pin 68 here is VCC. So these are the two capacitors here. So what I'll do next is I will solder the pad, the previous pad. I'll solder it and test if there is any changes. So now I've soldered the pad, and what I will do next is I'll check if there is any changes on this is supply. Here the board has powered, but I will have to turn off this board because this is SOC. I wouldn't want this thing to burn. Before doing any other testing, I will do the other okay, let me complete this video and I will continue with the other language version. The person that brought this board didn't bring this board with any what's it called, heat zinc. She want more heat zinc for body? No. Okay, no heat zinc for this board. So but for testing purpose, I will look for my DDR3 RAM. That happens to be the PC3L. That happens to be the testing RAM which I use. So now this is my testing RAM. So, and I've also put the heat zinc and the fan because of the processor. I wouldn't want to hurt the processor. So the next thing I will do now is I will insert this and confirm if my laptop will power. So here now the consumption is different from the first one. Now I'm having 0.004, which means most likely my rail is fine. What I'll do next, because this is HP, I'll use the main recommended charger, because this particular DC, most of the time it won't turn on laptop. So this is the main HP here. I'll see if the laptop will power, and I can also confirm the previous voltage that happens to be 1.9 volts. So this is my meter at voltage range, and here at the testing point here, this is the pad here now, and I have my complete 3.3 volts as expected. Initially, you remember when we were checking before, we were having what's the location? U6100. 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 Initially, the value we were having here was 1.9. After separating, we were having 0.9 here and 1.9 here. So now I'm having my perfect 3.3 as expected. This is it here. This is the pad here, 3.3 working. So what I'll do now is I'll power the board with my main HP charger instead of the DC supply, because the DC has no adapter ID, so most of the time it won't power. Here I can see my fan spinning and I have my indicators. So what I will do now is without checking any coil, already this place is heating a little bit, so without checking any coil, I will put the screen and test my display. This is the laptop screen here, and this is HP Folio. I'll only put those things that are important for display. So therefore I'll only put the LVDS connector. Correct this. Since I'm only testing display, so I might not use the fan. The heat zinc is enough to hold me to confirm the display. So now, after connecting the LVDS cable, so here the LVDS cable is connected. I'm not using fan this time around because I only need it for a few seconds to confirm if I have display or not. So yeah, now I have the indicator as usual. I will wait for some seconds to see if I have my display. Now I have my display and the laptop is working fine. So thank you for watching. Let me do the other version to prove them too.